Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Take Care with Moom. We are in another part of my house, and we have a couple special guests that you can see loitering around the couch.
Sleeping around the couch.
It's been a tough day for them, clearly. A couple disclaimers in case they bark, sorry. And secondly, I just got LASIK done, so in case I'm blinking weird, I apologize.
Nothing to apologize for. We have Comte over here, who is actually our friend's dog. We have Chovy, who's my little baby, short for anchovy.
And we have Cappy, who is mine. And Cappy and Chovy are sisters. So sisters have sister dogs. Fun fact. But yes, we wanted to kind of start today or, take you through a couple of the key questions we've been getting over the last several episodes. I think there have been recurring themes. So we kind of wanted to break it down into I think 3 or 4 different sections that go through those themes, really deep diving into questions that you have. And that being said, please keep sending us questions.
Yeah.
This will not be the last time you hear from just Maya and I. So keep sending us questions.
Super chronological agenda today. We just want to thank you for tuning in so far. It's been really fun making this. We want to continue making it. So today is just going to be answering 3 of those questions. I think the top one that we get is what we're going to start off with, and that is all about working with your sister or a sibling, especially in like a fast, high growth company. So we're going to dive deep into that, then go a little bit into founder mental health and just our mental health journeys in general, and end it off with, a lot of people always ask us this, what our sort of like wellness tips and tricks are day in the lives, and how we sort of manage it all as founders, even though I don't even think we manage it all.
Exactly. But without further ado, let's start with working with your sister. And I literally think 8 minutes ago was the most perfect example of working with your sister. Maya walked in. I could tell like something was up. She looked like a little flustered. She had 2 dogs with her. She was like rushing from her house, whatever. I think she had done a workout this morning. Yeah. So a lot was happening this morning. It's like 9 a.m. right now. And she walked in, she was like, I need water. And she walks in and gets water. And then she was like, I'm just so irritated about blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, calm down. Like, it's okay. We just need to do this and it'll be fine. And she was like, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to vent.
I just wanted to vent about something happening at work for a second to my sister, not my co-founder.
And I went into immediate co-founder mode. And then I was like, okay, fine, just deal with it. And I left her in the kitchen and I walked out.
And now we're fine.
Yeah. And then 2 minutes ago, we were talking about our hair. So I think that is truly the epitome of working with your sister, is that yes, it is difficult to sometimes switch between co-founder, colleague and sister mode, but everything transitions very quickly. Your moods can transition very quickly. Your reactions can. And I think, I haven't actually said sorry for like not just listening to her vent. I think she knows sorry, I should have been in sister mode.
A lot of things go unsaid, I guess.
Exactly.
But I think it's actually quite interesting that we get this question so much in Asia specifically, because we have been around family businesses our whole lives, not only just the 2 of us, but I think a lot of people in Asia, generational businesses. I think actually early on when we started our journey, and we talked a little bit about this last episode, when we started looking for funding, one of the big worries that we had was, is it going to be difficult to get funding because we are joining business or like we're starting a business as siblings? And when you look online and you read about these things online, it's a very Western take on things, and people often say actually it's a negative working with your sibling.
And have all of the legal procedures in order and blah, blah, blah. And to us, it was like, if something happens, it's 50-50, right? That's how it works.
It was a very simple process for us here. And yes, there were questions around it, but I think it's very interesting looking at the difference between a company or a startup in the US or the UK, starting that with your siblings versus starting something in Asia. I think the approach is completely different. The way people sort of rally around it in the US was oftentimes we saw online a lot of questions of people being like, oh my God, what if you fight? Oh my God, what if you get into an argument? Things like that. Whereas here, it was really just, okay, cool, you're starting a business with your sister, you're starting sort of like a family business. Check.
But
That's
maybe, you know, now that you say that, maybe it is a little bit of a generational thing. Because I think,
that's true.
you know, the generation before us or even one before us. So let's say our grandparents, like family run businesses was so common, right?
Yeah,
It was whether it was you're starting a coffee shop or you're starting a store or you're starting, I don't know, a shipping entity. Not sure how that popped up into my head. But whatever it may be, your grandparents started it. And it was almost like, if you were the next generation, you were going to take over it.
Yeah, it's like
right?
hawker centers.
Exactly. Like you were going to work with your father or mother or your siblings because it would be literally the whole family doing it. And maybe now that's changed a little bit. It's not as common for like our generation to be wanting to work with our family. I mean, Maya and I are a prime example of that, right? Our father is a commodities trader. Like what 13-year-old girl's dream is working in commodities? Nobody's.
Neither of ours.
Neither of ours, sure. Clearly.
I think one thing that you also said that's very interesting is this idea of like roles.
Yeah.
And I think that this is applicable to anyone in a job. It's not necessarily just working with your sibling. We will use that as the example, but it also is just about showing up at work, and do you walk in leaving, you know, your personal life behind? How can you bring that in? Is it important to bring that into work culture? I think for us, we learned that the hard way. Very early on in Moom, you know, we talked a little bit about this last episode, or in the solo episode we had as well. It was everyone's like hands on deck, the whole family working together, our husbands coming in to help pack orders with us. And I think it got to the point where it was too much.
Yeah.
Like we went too far into melding our family or even just our relationship as sisters with the business. And that was really, really difficult.
Mm-hmm. And I think it became the only thing that our entire family spoke about. So it wasn't only just Maya and I, and that's not to say that now we don't talk about Moom. Of course we do. That's just natural. But we talk about it in the same way that I used to talk about when I worked a job, right? It's a topic that comes up and then it's like gone. And I think that's a very healthy way of handling it when it's something that's so close to the family. But yes, it was the only thing we talked about at family dinners. It was the only thing we were trying to strategize. I mean, for years, our two husbands were our finance team.
Yeah.
So they were managing, like looking at revenue and telling us, oh, we need to increase this, or like we're doing well or whatever. So it just naturally became the only thing we were talking about.
And I think that's when it really leads to like taking over your life, not only and affecting your relationships, right? Not only like your work life and your social life, but affecting your really close, deep relationships. I think for us, that was kind of like that turning point when we started to hire and we started to realize, okay, like our roles in the company are also shifting as sibling co-founders. Being cognizant of the fact that like we are going to be building a team. Now we have a team of almost 24 people. How do we manage?
Crazy.
Yeah. Insane.
When you say that out loud, I'm like, huh?
How do we manage being sisters?
Yeah.
And like continuing to be playful as sisters, but also be founders and co-founders and leading a team.
Yeah. And I think that our team always like will chuckle when Maya and I will have like little tiffs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say like bicker. They're like, they're stupid sibling fights that we have about work.
Yeah.
But it literally takes like 8 minutes to just, let it go and then we're done. Whereas I often think that, if I had started Moom with a friend, like, how would these little bickerings work? Like what does it even look like? To me, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
And I always say like I don't think we would be friends anymore.
Right.
I think it would be very difficult. But then we have two of our best friends who run a business together, and they are very much best friends outside of work as well.
Yeah.
And they somehow manage to, it's so compartmentalized. So maybe it does go back to, like being able to switch roles.
Yeah, switch on and off when you need to.
And I think that's a great segue into the next point I was going to make about working with siblings or working with anyone you're close to, is the roles that you take within the business.
Yes.
Maya and I have very different strengths. We are very different people, despite everybody being like, oh my God, you guys are the exact same person.
Yeah, it's actually quite funny to us that people think we're so similar.
Yeah.
I think outwardly we talk a lot. That's like that's like really the only similarity we have, to be honest. And I think what's funny is very early on, again, I think at that turning point of okay, we're hiring now, we're building a team. we sat down. I mean, it wasn't even a formal sit down. It was just like, we're very cognizant of our strengths and weaknesses and how we are different. And we can dive into that. I think people are always interested in like what we do and how it's different. And we realized, okay, this is the role you're going to take and this is the role you're going to take. That being said, I think as a company grows, the roles change and build. And like, I think we're stepping into a new space of being founders and like really figuring out, okay, what do we do now that we've hired this team? There's plenty of things to do, but all of the things that we haven't had time to. But yeah, I think maybe we can share a little bit about our strengths and weaknesses and how we decided what roles we would play.
So I think like strengths wise, for me personally, I am quite an organized person. I'm very like type A, just think type A, and I kind of define every aspect of that. But yes, I'm very organized. I love a to-do list. Like nothing makes me more excited than checking things off a to-do list. I am creative, but not necessarily like design oriented. I'm not like a designer. I don't know how to do it, but I have ideas. I would say that's where my strengths lie a little more. I'm not as extroverted as Maya is. I get like quite nervous public speaking or talking with like random people. I can't just like go up to someone and ask them something. It like gives me a lot of anxiety. I'll do it, but it does give me a lot of anxiety. So I think that made it very clear to us that like maybe I work a little bit more on the back end things, if you can call that. So when we first started, I was more working on the operations side of things, finance-ish. I would say finance is neither of our strengths, which is why I didn't even say it. So like,
our strength.
But yes, finance-ish. The raise, I work on like certain aspects of raising that honestly just require organization. But the finance part, again, is not where I am strong at. And so it's not what I would want to do. And then I think we both really worked on community and brand building because that, again, is like the ideas side of things. And then, in terms of like expanding into new markets, I work a little bit more on like the regulation side of things and figuring out, okay, how do we actually enter a new market on like a logistics aspect? So I think that's really where we started. Now, I would say now, do I do all of those things? Kind of, but like we have a team that can help with so much of that now, I mean, honestly, I think this year has been a real year of us refiguring out what these two roles are.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, it's the complete opposite of Mili. And that was actually a huge tiff of ours at the beginning. Yeah. She's a hyper organized person, loves a to-do list. I am probably the least organized person. I'm the one that like always forgets the keys at home. I lock myself out of the house all the time. My desk is like a mess. My desktop computer is like has a million screenshots on it.
She has like 9,000 unread emails. Yeah. I'm like, I have 9 unread emails and have like
a hot mess. Yeah. And I think like it's a strength of mine, but it's also obviously a huge weakness of mine as well. And I think that was a huge struggle for us at the beginning. It still sometimes is. But I think because of that, I leaned way more into the creative side of things, more on the design side of things. Obviously, like we both come up with a lot of ideas, but on the brand side, really leaning into the marketing side, whether it's like growth or creative. And then obviously helping with community as well. I think that's a big part of our role, hiring. And I'm a huge extrovert. Comte left the table. I'm a huge extrovert, so I am the person that goes up to random people and asks them whether or not they've heard of Moom. And I think really at the beginning that was super, super important.
Oh, I mean, I think like that was not 100% of Maya's role, but like 50% at least, because I would be like, when we first launched in Watson's, I think great example. When we first launched in Watson's, we would go to a lot of Watson's stores just to see like, are people even looking at our products on the shelves? And, we would often see people like looking and like they pick up the box and they're like looking around. And I'm like, oh my God, Maya, that girl is looking. And Maya's like, cool, I'm going to go up to her and just like, maybe I'll just buy her Moom. And I was like, oh my God, you're going to go up to this random person?
Yeah, I would go. I still do. Anytime I see someone. So I guess tidbit for anyone watching, anytime I see someone at a Watson's or any store that we stock at, I will pay for your order.
Yeah.
I will go up to you if you're contemplating something, ask you all the questions about Moom, answer all of your questions about the products, and then I will pay for your order.
Yeah. The point being that we have very different roles in the company even today, and we have very different strengths. And I think that has also been our biggest like strength to growing Moom is that.
I mean, I will say while we do have super different roles, we also are very aware of what each
Yeah.
other does. I think we've met some co-founders who like to separate specifically, like, okay, I'm working on this and then I hand it off to you. I think Millie and I have always been extremely collaborative. And for us, when it comes to building a team as well, everyone needs to be super collaborative also. I think we really, really make sure that our teams are working together.
Yeah.
Everyone is learning about how to grow a business as well. But I think that's also a good transition into the next question that we've gotten, which is really like our mental health and how we handle all of these different things that we do. You know, it seems like we do a lot. We do a lot. And I think we've actually gone through a lot of different phases of the business and like ups and downs.
And I think then phases of our own mental health as well,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
And how we handle those different phases. Like Millie mentioned, being that super extrovert gives her a lot of anxiety. I would say on the counter, like if I have a form I need to fill out, I'm literally like, I can't do it. I cannot fill out like a Google form sometimes because I'm just like, oh my God, I need to sit down and do this like task that is very important, but I just see all of these different lines I need to fill out. And that gives me anxiety, which is hilarious. Some people are going to be like, oh my God, she's so weird. That's so stupid. I just get paralyzed when it comes to like form filling. Whereas Millie is like, oh my God, that's going to take me 2 minutes. But like, I will get paralyzed thinking about a presentation.
Yeah.
This is her that I have. And I cannot do it. And so I think you need to understand those differences as well. But I think that has also played a big part of our mental health. Like these things that we have to do as founders, because you don't get to pick and choose everything you do. You have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do.
And I think you're always, as a founder, and I think any founder listening can attest to this, you're always pushed out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Like whether or not you like it, you are always, always, always pushed out of your comfort zone. And this is like on a daily basis. So it really is about becoming comfortable with things that you are so uncomfortable with. That being said, it's like it's like rolling off my tongue. I am not comfortable with a lot of things that I'm uncomfortable with. Like I'm just uncomfortable with them.
Yeah.
But you like deal with it and you have to deal with it. Otherwise it's never going to get done.
And I think that's just a really important lesson like we have learned through launching and growing Moom, but is applicable to anyone in any job. Like if I look back at the past jobs I've had, if I had thought about it this way as well, like I just have to get the job done. I might need to do things that are super uncomfortable, but as long as I'm learning and growing, it's going to help me so much. It's going to help me in my career so much, in my personal life. I think we can dive deep into like the different phases we've had in our mental health. Would you
want me to go first? Okay. So I guess I've mentioned this today, but also if you watch our TikToks, anything, like I am naturally a very anxious person. I am a worrier. I stress very easily. During COVID, I was so stressed, not about COVID. I think this was when we had just started Moom. I was so stressed that I was literally losing hair in clumps.
Yes.
I went to a doctor. He told me it was this equivalent of postpartum hair loss, but I never had a child.
Actually, that's a quick like health fact. Stress is actually the leading cause of female hair loss.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's why a lot of stress or a lot of hair supplements, there are some very, very famous ones on the market. I mean, I think I can say it, right?
Yeah.
Nutrafol. It's like the most famous hair supplement in the world, probably. They have ashwagandha in it, and it's KSM 66, which is the same ashwagandha we use.
Yeah.
It's because genuinely stress is one of the biggest hair fall contributors and biggest skin whatever contributors, right?
Yeah, but Millie was literally getting like bald spots.
Yeah, I was getting, it looked like I had alopecia almost. And they were like these chunky bald spots. So that is context for I am a very stressed person. And I think I had, when we had first launched Moom, maybe not in the first year, to be honest, for me, a lot of the stress came when we raised money. And it still does. And like, I'm very open about this. I think the fact that we raised money and took money from someone else, till today, it does stress me out. That I feel like even though, you know, you work with funds and you work with investors and it's always like, we're not your boss. They're not, but I feel like there's this responsibility that we have as a company,
and you sort of like owe it to other people.
That we owe it to other people. There's a responsibility that this fund has given us X amount of money. They have so much trust in us, and if we don't hit these targets, we are letting someone down. And to me, like letting someone down is, I don't know, it's like worse than It's like the worst thing you can do, basically.
Yeah.
It was the same thing when I was a kid, and like my parents would say that, "Oh, you've let us down." Like that would really get me, rather than them getting.
I'm not
angry
mad.
at
I'm
me.
disappointed.
Yeah. Oh, the disappointed. That one always got me. So I think that's when a lot of stress started for me. I was genuinely not able to handle it.
Yeah.
I think it was like, it was affecting my work. It was affecting my relationships. And I think it affected my relationships more than my work.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very fake it till you make it kind of person. Like I can slap on a smile and I can go do the work, and I knew I needed to do it for Moom, for the small team that we had at that time.
Yeah.
But I would come home and I would just break down every single day. My husband can probably say I was like probably the worst wife for a year. I don't even know, not even a year, like 6 months, 8 months. I was not a great daughter. I was like fighting with my parents about nothing. It was not a fight, but I would just get so irritated. I would get very short and irritated with Maya.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know Maya personally, she's like a born therapist. That is actually her calling.
But she gets really annoyed at me when I therapize her.
Yeah, but she does therapize a lot. She's very good at it, but sometimes it's very difficult to hear these things from the people you're so close to.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I decided to seek out like actual therapy for the first time.
Yeah.
I had done therapy before, but it was very here and there. Like I'd go to 1 or 2 sessions and be like, oh, this isn't working for me. So I found a therapist through Maya, actually.
Through my best friend in the US, anyway.
Through her best friend. It was online therapy, which for me worked so much better than in-person has ever worked. I think in-person therapy, again, it went back to me being very anxious about talking to strangers.
I also think it's a barrier to entry
Yes.
when you need to get yourself somewhere and speak to someone.
Exactly.
That's not to say that I think in-person therapy is not amazing, but I think for people who are really anxious and stressed out about something, having to go out of your way to sort of get the help you need, it's much easier if it just comes to you.
Yeah, if it comes to you, and I don't know why, but to me, it felt like if this was happening on Zoom, like, oh, this person is so far away from me, I'm never gonna meet them.
Yeah.
Like it felt very distant. And I was like, okay, this works for me.
Yeah.
So I did therapy, which started to help, but it took time. Like, honestly, the first few sessions, all I did was cry. Like, I don't think anything came out of any session because I just cried for 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then I was prescribed to take Lexapro, which is an SSRI,
Yeah,
right? It's an
SSRI,
antidepressant, essentially. I was told it's very mild. I asked 1,000 questions about this because I have never been somebody that I want to take a medication for a long period of time. But I was like, okay, I think I need to take this. So I started taking Lexapro, and I think within I would say 6 to 8 weeks, which was 6 to 8 sessions.
Well, I think it's actually interesting because Millie might say 6 to 8 weeks. And I think for the first month that you were on it, the sisters are loving each other. The first month that you were on it, you were saying it's not working. It's not working.
100%.
And I think it's interesting because when I researched about it and I spoke to my own therapist about it as well, there are signs that other people can see when therapy and medication help someone that they might not see themselves.
Exactly.
And I think that's actually a really interesting part. Oh, Cappy burped. That's a really interesting part about mental health in general. I think when you're in it, and this has happened to me, and we can go through that in a little bit, but when you're in it yourself, it's really hard to see what's helping you and what's not. But the people around you that have seen you go through everything can really tell when things are helping and when they're not.
Yeah. I remember a couple weeks into me taking the medication, and you take it every single day, Maya mentioned oh, I feel like your mood is better. I think it was something as simple as that. And I was like, no, I don't think this is working. I think maybe the dose is too low for me or whatever. But yeah, so it wasn't until about 2 months that I started feeling, and maybe it was because the people around me were telling me this.
Yeah.
To be very honest, maybe I didn't notice. I can't really remember. And so I started taking medication. For the first time, I was properly doing this. I was properly going to therapy. It's funny because I'm so open to telling people that, oh, you definitely, if you need medication, you should take it. And if you need to go to therapy, you should do it. But for myself to do it, I don't know why it took me so long. And it was great. And it really helped, I think. When I was able to notice that there are, let's say, 4 or 5 things that really trigger me, that's when I felt oh, okay, I was getting something out of therapy. But it took me a while. I'm a very impatient person naturally also.
She fills out forms really quickly.
I do. I get an email and I want to respond to it that second. I get a WhatsApp and I need to respond to it immediately. Something that I'm working on. But one of the biggest things that was triggering me was the Shopify app.
Yeah. And for those who don't know what this is, so essentially like when you run a business on Shopify, you can download an app. It tells you how much money you're making every day. If an order is coming through, it pings you.
And when an order comes through, it's this very specific noise.
Yeah,
it's
like a cash checkout,
cha-ching,
which is so exciting. Like for me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And this is how our brains work extremely differently,
but
right?
for me, when I wouldn't hear the constant cha-ching, I'd be like, oh my gosh, we're
Something's
going under.
wrong.
Like something's wrong. We're shutting Moom tomorrow. That's where my brain goes. So I deleted the Shopify app.
Yeah, you deleted the Shopify app.
Till today, I do not have the Shopify app. I'm probably so annoying, and I don't actually know if the team knows that I hate checking Shopify, but I ask people to tell me Shopify details.
Yeah.
So if I don't have to log into Shopify for like any reason, I will not. And I will ask people to tell me that information, because when I go into that, it's like TikTok for some people or like Pinterest for some people. I will just scroll and scroll and scroll, and I will go back to like June 2023 and be like, why did we do so badly here?
Yeah.
Like, why was this one day so bad?
I think it's like, it's all about, okay, identifying this trigger and not feeling bad about the solve for it. Like, I think at first Millie was like, oh no, I can't delete this because we need to know our revenue numbers all the time. But there are ways to think about it differently, right? You don't have to check every single day, every single minute of every single day. Maybe it's about building in a weekly meeting where we go through revenue numbers. Yeah. Maybe it's about asking people for help and like really leaning on your team for things that might not stress you out, or might stress you out and might not stress others out.
So in the beginning, I would just ask Maya because it didn't stress her out. And then we would have our own like weekly meeting internally and then, go from there.
And I think it's important to recognize just overall, like one motivational factor for one person can be the complete opposite for another, right? What I found with the Shopify app, and again, this is just an example, was that I was able to be like, okay, great, we've hit this number. How can we hit more?
Yeah.
And in my head, strategizing on ways that we can continue this momentum. And if there was a dip, okay, great, this is a time for me to be really creative about how we can increase our revenue at this time.
So that was one, and not to like be long-winded, I'll give another example. Another trigger for me was not having weekends.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say not having weekends, not giving myself a weekend.
Yeah.
And not giving myself time, like proper time off. It's still something I'm working on. But I think I never took a break.
Yeah.
And even though I was not like efficient all the time, but I felt like I had to do some work on the weekend. Like if I didn't open my laptop and I didn't respond to emails and I don't know, whatever else I had to do, I was doing like a disservice and I was not being the leader that I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that was something that honestly I followed in Maya's footsteps.
Yeah, I mean, I think, okay, so to give context on like myself, I also suffer from a lot of anxiety. It shows up very differently than Millie. I also went to therapy. I still continue to. And I think like 3 things that we've learned, both of us, from therapy that can apply to both of us and probably everyone listening is, number 1, identifying your triggers, like really understanding yourself and identifying your triggers. Number 2, there's this concept of catastrophizing. So Millie catastrophizes in the sense that the Shopify app is saying that we have a dip, therefore, oh my God, Moom is going to go under. We have to like basically abort mission tomorrow, right? For me, it's really simple things. Like I see a knife and I'm washing a knife and I think the knife is going to slip my hand. And I think worst case scenario, I'm walking across the street, I see the car, it's going to hit me, I'm going to die. Like the catastrophizing is very different. When it comes to Moom, it's like no one's showing up to the event. Oh my God, I'm going to have nobody to talk to. This is going to be so embarrassing. Like, shoot, what are we going to do? So the catastrophizing works in different ways. Our brains are very different. That's 2. The third thing, which is basically what she's talking about now, is called the law of diminishing returns. So it's this idea that...
See how she's like a natural therapist? Like she puts that so eloquently. I was like, I need weekends.
No, but I've learned it from therapy specifically. This idea of the law of diminishing returns, that you continue to put your everything. In other words, it's burnout. Yeah. Like really, it is just burnout. But if you continue to do everything all of the time, what you're getting out of it is actually going to decrease over time. Like, you're not going to be productive anymore at work if you're working 24/7. If you give every single weekend to Moom, which maybe we're in a phase of that right now, and it is affecting our mental health right now, we are not going to be able to be the best founders, show up as the best possible managers, show up as the best possible operations leads, marketing managers, like all of these things. And it's actually going to affect the business negatively.
So yes, I think those are 3 really big triggers for me, things that I'm learning to work through. Some I found solution for, some I haven't.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking the other week that I think this like season of Moom is really becoming quite crazy again for us, and that maybe I do want to go back to like regular therapy.
Yeah.
Because I think it might help me again figure out this phase of my mental health now. Like, we crossed one, and now how do we get to the other? You know, my hair has grown back. Now, how do I make sure it doesn't start falling again?
And it's like the constant learning, which is honestly, like, there are millions of podcasts out there about this, but I think for us, it's just we wanted to talk a little bit about how we deal with it.
What are your 3 triggers?
3 triggers?
Or like, you know, I
oh my
guess,
God, it's like, it's genuinely when I have a to-do list that are a bunch of little things, and I just feel paralyzed. Like, I look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh. I think the other thing for me that triggers me heavily is like, I care deeply about how others are feeling, and I'm a people pleaser, like, to the max, especially when it comes to non-family. Like, I think obviously I'm not people pleasing Mili all the time, but our team specifically. And like, when someone seems unhappy or stressed out, it really leads me down a path of like, oh my God, how are we setting a culture for Team Moom? Like, we are a wellness brand. We should care deeply about our team's wellness. Like, how can we really overcome that? I think that's a huge thing for me. And then honestly, the third thing, which sounds so silly and isn't meant to like make anyone feel bad, but when the people around me are not feeling good either. So like, when Mili gets triggered, that then really triggers me, because I can't solve that. And I think when I love to have control. Everyone loves to have control. The basis of all your therapy sessions are going to be what you can and can't control in your life. But I think when I'm not in control of someone else's emotions, which I never really am, that really stresses me out.
Yeah, or I think when you can't figure out how to help a
someone,
person, right? Like, if there was a phase where I think I couldn't see like positivity in literally anything. I was so negative all the time. I was like a horrible person to be around. I was a bad friend. I was a bad sister. I was a bad wife.
Me.
Yes, it was really hard for you. It was really hard for my husband.
Yeah.
He is maybe not to the extent of Maya, but I think with me, he always says like, when you are upset, I become upset.
Yeah, and I think like honestly, it affects our parents as well. Like, when they see us really stressed out and upset about Moom or different things in our lives, like, it stresses them out as well. I think I feel the same way. Like, when someone is in a deep, dark place or just like not having a great time, I feel like I can be the one to help them. I am not a savior in any context of the word, but it really deeply affects me. Probably more than my own mental health affects me. And that is a bad thing. Like, it's just not a great thing. So for me, going to therapy, a lot of it was like identifying that. And I think, yes, I fully agree with Mili. This season of Moom is just absolutely nuts. Like, I think I have never worked so many hours in the day. I'm like, my computer doesn't shut before 10 p.m. most days. And I'm waking up and answering messages as soon as I'm getting out of bed. And that is not my ideal, but we recognize it's a phase. So how can we level up our mental health during this time? Which leads us actually to the last question that we really want to talk about. And that is how we spend an ideal, I guess, day in the life working. I think it's good to show that, like, taking care of our wellness and mental health. Like, what are our non-negotiables, literally just every day? I think it's like kind of interesting. I always like to listen to the D's.
And I think a lot of people ask us this, like, and we always ask founders this too.
Like, so tell me your day from beginning to end on an ideal wellness day working. So I think my ideal like schedule for the day, when I am also taking care of my wellness, but am in a busy season, I like to wake up around 7 to 7:15. That is a new goal of mine in 2025. I set my alarm at 7 and I set it at 7:15, and I have to wake up within those 15 minutes. Immediately, my phone is off to the side. I don't even look at it. I just click, okay, stop the alarm. I get out of bed and I get ready immediately for a walk with my husband and actually my family friend who lives down the street. She meets us and I take the dogs for a walk Right now I have 2. Usually it's just 1, but all 3 of us walk along the river. The best mental health day is when we see otters. So in Singapore, there are a lot of otters right now. If I see otters on the river, I know it's going to be a great day, but we walk for around like 45 minutes to an hour. I get home by like 8:15 and I make myself a really delicious breakfast and a coffee and or Supergreens and or matcha. So it really depends on the day. But lately it has been my Supergreens happy hormones in the morning, caffeinated, and this delicious breakfast, which is like yogurt, kefir, pomegranate, and this little cereal on top. It's so freaking good. I can't get over it. It's by Glow with Ella, who I follow a lot. So by that time, it's like 8:30, 8:45 probably. I shower and I'm able to start my day at around 9:15, 9:30. I actually don't start it right at 9 a.m. Usually it's actually going to be 9:30. And I've just spent almost an hour and a half in the morning without my phone.
Yeah.
I have not even looked at my phone.
Oh, you forgot about a cold plunge.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Okay, that is the idea. Right after we get back from the walk, before I make my breakfast, we cold plunge. So for my husband and my wedding gift, we got ang bao, obviously, and we spent all of our ang bao, or like a portion of our ang bao, on a cold plunge for our balcony. And it is the best thing we have ever
They
spent.
actually, when they were planning on buying this, I was like, you're going to use it for like a month
Everyone
and
made
be
fun of
over
us.
it.
It was like,
It's like a year and a half
This is
later,
like a
and
phase.
they use it.
3 times a week without fail.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, we cold plunge 3 minutes, 7 degrees, 6 degrees when my husband makes it lower. Our family friend who comes over and does it hates when he does it at 6 and 5 degrees, but we do that and then we shower and we're cold. And so then we can stay in this like Singapore heat without feeling like, oh my God, we're going to melt. So that is part of the morning routine. Once we get home, then I make my breakfast, shower, everything. I'm ready by 9:30. I start my day at 9:30 at home. If we're getting to the office, I like to get to the office by 10 a.m. That's because I know without fail there are going to be a few issues that Mili and I have to solve. I do not like solving problems before 10 a.m. Before 10 a.m., I want to help people on random things, look through my emails really quickly, like see what I need to do for the day. And at 10 a.m., I can help you with any problem you have. No problem at Moom needs to be solved before then.
Yeah.
We are not a hospital. So I get there during the day. Favorite thing is walking to get lunch with the team, being able to walk back. That's a nice little walk during the day. And then I think like we jump to my evening routine because I mean, the rest of the day is really just spent doing work. By the time we get home, it's usually like 7:30 if we're at the office. I would say if we are working from home, I would like to start cooking actually at like 6:37. We've been trying to make it earlier and earlier. My husband and I are trying to eat earlier. That is a big part of my mental health is cooking every day. It is like my therapy because again, I'm not looking at my phone. I think my phone is my biggest trigger, honestly. And then I just eat and I'll watch some TV. And I think that is really, really important for me. While I'm watching TV, I will usually do any design work that I have to do. So I'm like on the computer designing while watching TV. I like to watch funny shows. Intense shows are saved for the weekend. So it's just like anything that is on Netflix that is brainless.
Fun fact about Maya, if she starts a TV show and it's intense, she literally has to watch the
whole
entire
thing.
season in like one night.
I have a very addictive personality and it's bad. So anyways, I'll do work until probably like 10 p.m. and then I like to shower, read a book and fall asleep by 11. I will take a sleep well. So I take my Supergreens happy hormones in the morning. If I'm feeling full, I like to take a deep bloat and then I will take a sleep well. Honestly, when it's busy season, like every night, I do like to be asleep by like 11:30, 12. Recently, it's been like 12 most nights because the red light is affecting me and I'm like staying on my computer way too late. But I got really into reading last year and that was great for my mental health. I think I read 50 books last year, which is really exciting. I'm hoping to read that much this year. And then I fall asleep and the day starts again. So that is a day in my life. I hope that it's helpful to people. Mili, what's yours?
Yeah. I guess my ideal day is also starts early like you, like 7:15. I'll be honest, most days I'm not up before 7:15. I'm trying to not snooze. That's like a big one for me. I'm a huge snoozer. I always have been, but I'm trying to not. Ideally, I would wake up then, yes, probably go for a little walk. I don't always go for a walk with Cappy, which I know is bad, but honestly, she's a really slow walker. And like sometimes I only have like 30 or 40 minutes and I'm like, I want to get like a walk in the morning. But no, if she's up for it and like even my husband's up for it, we'll go for a walk. Otherwise it can sometimes just be Cappy and I, sometimes just me. If it's just me, I love listening to a podcast. Probably listen to like every founder's podcast that exists
in the world. Yeah.
Especially if it's a D2C founder, like I've heard it. So I'll do that. I come home. I've been really trying to not drink coffee. Yeah. So I will come home and have a Supergreens, caffeinated again. And honestly, it's been like the biggest thing for me because like I don't drink coffee anymore, really. Yeah. I'll drink it because I enjoy the taste. It's not because of a need. And so I'll have that. And then I usually go for a shower, get ready, and then I will eat some kind of breakfast. And again, the breakfast is a very recent addition. So I have to keep it very simple. I have to keep it quick. And it has to be something I can like eat in like 5 minutes. And
I think both of us have been really into like making sure we eat breakfast. It's good for your hormonal health. It's like amazing.
It doesn't make me snack as much. And for me, that's a huge thing.
And I think that's like a huge part of our wellness routines now is eating breakfast.
I think it's like changed so many things for me, whether it's like my metabolism or my snacking habits, or honestly, like, I don't know, just my general mood and energy level in the first half of the day.
You take MetaBoost every day.
I do take MetaBoost every single morning with my greens because I know that I forget to take it before a meal. And like, yes, that's ideal, but I'm fine with being like a little less than ideal.
I take it before dinner.
Yeah. So I take it every single morning with my Supergreens. I'll just take it. I don't have a sensitive stomach, so I can take a lot of things on an empty stomach. If you do have a sensitive stomach, don't do that. And I'll have a breakfast. Sometimes right now I'm really into this cereal from Catalina Crunch, which you get on iHerb. It tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but it's like healthy. I think 35 grams of cereal, which is like a small bowl, has like 11 grams of protein, no added sugar, and like 110 calories. Yeah. So it's really good. I'll put it with almond milk, or sometimes I do half almond milk, half normal milk. Yeah. Because I think it like thickens it a little bit, and then it like, you get that cereal milk taste.
We can link our breakfast.
Yeah, we can link our breakfasts as well. Or I'll have a yogurt with a little bit of honey, and like I'll put like chia seeds or something crunchy in there as well. So it's very easy and quick on the go for me. Get to office, again, kind of like Maya. I think like 9:30, 10 is my ideal to go into office. For me, I used to feel very guilty when we were not in the office before the team. But what I've realized is that we always work late. It's okay. Like, it's fine. But yes, we get into the office. Again, the morning is usually like meetings when we're in the office. We try to do a lot of like team in-person meetings in the office. I do love walking to go get lunch. So I will almost always do that. It's actually one of the reasons why I don't bring lunch to office.
Yeah, actually it's true.
Because when I bring lunch, I don't leave the office all day. Yeah. And then, it's work the rest of the day. Again, probably home by like 7:15, 7:30 usually. And then I will cook dinner. Cooking is not as much of a therapy for me as Maya because my anxiety kicks in about the cleaning. Yeah. So do you see this common thread? Yeah. But yes, I do cook dinner.
But you've gotten way more into it.
I cook dinner every single night, basically, during the week. And that is because I want to eat home cooked food. I don't want to order food. Yeah. And we can do that. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Yeah. So we'll cook dinner. I'm quite an easy, like fast cook. I love my air fryer. I'm obsessed with my air fryer. If anybody wants air fryer recipes, comment and I'm happy to share.
We should do an episode of our favorite recipes.
Yeah, I love an air fryer recipe. Yeah. I'll cook and then clean right away because I don't want and then actually I'll cook and then I go take a shower and I only like to eat my dinner when I'm clean.
Oh, I'm the opposite because I feel like I'm going to smell after dinner. So I want to shower right before getting into bed.
Oh, no. I'll cook and then I'll shower and then I will eat my dinner. And then, usually it's like TV, finishing up some like work that doesn't need my 100% focus, but is like, it's there. So I'm finishing something up around there. Usually like chill with Cappy for a bit, hang out with my husband a little bit. And then, try to be in bed by like 10:30.
I think one thing that is like pops up a lot is people often think like, oh, you work so much, you don't sleep that much. Sleep is a non-negotiable for me.
Yes.
If I do not get 7 hours of sleep, and this has a lot to do with hormonal health, by the way, any females that are listening, your hormonal health affects how much you need to sleep. Women need actually much more sleep than men. This is a proven fact. And it's really important that you get your sleep every day. That doesn't mean that I'm not working all day long. I mean, you've heard our schedules, and we don't need to work all day long every single day. But I think sleep is the most important thing when it comes to hormonal health. Not the most important thing, but one of the most important things when it comes to your health in general.
Yep. I used to be a horrible sleeper. I've become a much, much, much better sleeper, and I have to contribute it to supplements because nothing else has really changed in my life. So magnesium and ashwagandha every single night without fail. Sleep well whenever I need it. But the magnesium and ashwagandha daily has been a game changer for me. 6 to 7 hours for me is usually good. And that being said, if I get 8, like, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to obviously talk a little bit about happy hormones again, but it helps with your sleep.
It does help with your sleep.
And it's actually inositol, which is the one and only ingredient in happy hormones, is amazing for men's sleep health also. So
for anyone that questions us, Andrew Huberman has an entire podcast on this, so you can listen to it. So I think those are...
Thank you for listening.
I know. Thank you, guys.
This is a different type of episode. And if you have questions for us for our next episode, let us know. But
comments, if you didn't like this kind of episode and you prefer more like a storytelling, let us know. We're happy to do that too. And maybe next time we'll bring 2 other guests rather than the puppies.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.